As I've gotten older, my collections have changed. Started with baseball cards, but now it's on to Haggadahs. If you're like me and you have more than one Haggadah, every year you look into them and you see what perspective they add to your Passover. All of them have the same words, but it's the commentary, it's the reflections on those words that allow us to have a different Pesach each year. Some of them you may even use at your own Seders. One of them, which I love to teach, A Different Night Haggadah by Noam Sion. Some of you are shaking your heads as a yes. More yeses for this one, the Maxwell House Classic Haggadah. Raise your hands, yes. The pages are torn out, the grape juice stains are there, but we use it. But then you have newer Haggadot. One of them came out last year by the Blue Dove Foundation. It's a Haggadah strictly based on the perspective of mental health. I have Haggadot from Israel and Europe and around the world, and again, the same exact words. I shared some of these a couple of weeks ago on the online Parsha class, and I know some people actually went online and got some of those Haggadot, but some of my favorite ones are the ones that you cannot get. The ones that you find in flea markets in Israel for a couple shekels, but have been treasured for years. But this Pesach, I didn't buy a Haggadah, but I downloaded one. That's what you do with Haggadot these days. You download them. And this Haggadah is called the Haggadah of Freedom, which I know Rabbi Kornsgold told me in the family minyan some of you used at your Seders this year. This Haggadah was produced by the Hostages and Missing Families Forum. And as you can imagine, it's a Haggadah that did not exist 2 years ago. But it's like a Haggadah that we have never experienced in our own lifetime. When I started reading this Haggadah, the Haggadah of Freedom, it triggered something in my mind of the Haggadah that I grew up with that was called On the Wings of Freedom. And the commentary was by Rabbi Richard Levy. And so before I tell you what's in the Haggadah of Freedom, I went back to the Magid section, the section of where we tell the story of our Exodus. And I wanted to see what words I read growing up. These are the words of Rabbi Richard Levy of the On the Wings of Freedom Haggadah. He says, Mitzrayim is not a place on an ancient map where a narrow strait blocks the sea, which is our soul, from reaching the sea, which is its source. We have built that strait from all that has enslaved us. He goes on to say, to eat this bread of affliction is to take a bit of that which afflicts us, to tear into the sludge of our enslavement and gnaw away at it, layer by layer, until we clear through the straits, a channel for our soul to flow back again into its source. At this moment, our soul is still enslaved. But before this night will end, may it once again breathe free. I said those words every single year growing up as a free Jew in upstate New York, never really understanding what those words meant. But this week, after I reread those words, I then looked at this new Haggadah, the Hostage Families Forum Haggadah of Freedom, for the first time. And what I realized, it is a message for Yizkor for all of us. Yes, this new Haggadah of Freedom has the ancient traditional text, but the commentary is not from any rabbi, but rather it is from the families of these hostages, those who are still held captive, those who have been returned. But for these moments of Yizkor, I want to focus on two who are no longer with us this Passover. The first commentary was on Manishtana Halayla Hazeh. Why is this night different than all other nights? And the commentary is by Ofri Perry, the daughter of Chaim Perry of blessed memory, who was kidnapped from Kibbutz Nir Oz. He was murdered and then returned in February of 2024 for a proper burial. This is what Chaim Perry's daughter Ofri writes about Manishtana this year. She says, this year we no longer have hope that he might return to us. As a nation, we live with the reality that our lives have changed dramatically. And on this night, we ask ourselves, how do we move forward and what will the future hold for us? When we try to answer these questions, along with the fear that we will not recover, we do cling to the faith and the hope in our people that things will change for the better, and that we will be the ones that bring that change. When I look out into a Yizkor congregation, yes, there are many empty seats, but the seats that are filled, I don't see you as individuals, but I see you as stories of worlds. Each of us are here to say Yizkor prayers for loved ones for so many different reasons. Some of us have lost parents and grandparents, others siblings and spouses, others have lost children, and others have lost friends. And each of us, when we say these Yizkor prayers, we say those same words of the Haggadah, Ma nishtana. How is this Yizkor different from the rest? What milestones have and will our loved ones miss? What news do we wish to share with them? And what questions on Passover could we wish that we could ask them one more time? And while we cannot recover those actions, the words of Ofri Perry teach us and comfort us. For what we do here on Yizkor is to cling to that hope and to the faith of our people, connecting deeply to the souls whose presence we deeply, deeply feel. For when we invoke their name in this sacred space, and when we tell their stories, as Ofri Perry tells us, that is when we bring change to our world. Many of us, if we get past the meal and people are still at your table, we sing some songs. We sing Who Knows One. We welcome in Elijah the prophet. But then we sing the song that's a riddle, and it's Chad Gadya, about a dog chasing a cat, a father buying it for 2 zuzim. But when I looked at the Chad Gadya of the Freedom Haggadah by the Hostage Family Forum, it's very different. You see, many years before October 7th, at Kibbutz Nir Oz, there was a different Chad Gadya that was written. And this is what it said. From the mountaintop, from the hilltop, a shepherd plays a tune on his flute, a new song for the people of Israel. This song represents our unity, where the dog stands guard, where the cat is not complacent, where the bull works in the field, and where the plow harvests the land. Besides the words of that new Chad Gadya that was written many years ago, every Passover at Kibbutz Nir Oz, it was put on as a play by Mia Gorin of blessed memory. She was murdered on October 7th and returned by the IDF in July 2024. Mia Gorin was the famous kindergarten teacher at Nir Oz, of the Gan, of the preschool. She was the teacher of the Bibas boys. That morning, she was getting the kindergarten ready to teach this song once again. And when I saw that Chad Gadya, I realized that, yes, it was written many, many years ago, but perhaps it was written for all of us on this Yizkor morning, to remember our loved ones as united with us again in the sacred sanctuary. For each Yizkor that passes, our list of Ma nishtana gets a little longer. Each year gives us more time and more space to ask more questions. Each Yizkor gives us more time to remember, and ultimately each Yizkor gives us more time and space to keep the loved ones who we feel so close alive again. And so as we conclude this Pesach holiday, I go back to the words not of this Freedom Haggadah, but of the Haggadah that I grew up with on the wings of freedom, understanding that Maggid section that I read for so many years that my parents read to me, they were so true then and they were so true today, connecting us to this Haggadah of freedom, so that on this Yizkor, we pray that the love of those who have departed will allow our souls to breathe free, will clear the straits to allow our souls to flow back to them as our source. Yehi zichram baruch. May the memory of our loved ones be a blessing for all time. And let us say, Amen.